demigods. Rishabhan, the great personalities. 24th verse. Pranamya dandavat bhumav upatasthe aranajali vrashyahamsa suparnasthan swai swai chinnasi chintanya. Pranamya, offering obeisances. Dandavat, like a rod. Bhumo, ground. Upatasthe, fell down. Arhana, all paraphernalia for worship. Anjali, folded hands. Varsa, Vrisa, bull. Hamsa, swan. Suparna, the Garuda bird. Sthana, situated. Swai, own. Swai, own. Chinnai, by symbols. Chinna, by symbols. Cha, hand. Chininta, being recognized. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The sage was standing on one leg, but as soon as he saw that the three deities had appeared before him, he was so pleased to see them all together that despite great difficulty, he approached them on one leg. Translation of the second verse, which is 24th today. Thereafter, he began to offer prayers to the three deities who were seated on different carriers, a bull, a swan, and Garuda, and who held in their hands a drum, kushagrash, and a discus. The sage offered them his respects by falling down like a stick. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Danda means a long rod, and Vat means like. Before a superior, one has to fall down on the ground just like a stick. And this sort of offering of respect is called Dandavat. Atri Rishi offered his respect to the three deities in that way. They are identified by their different carriers and different symbolic representations. In that connection, it is stated that Lord Vishnu was sitting on Garuda, a big aquiline bird, and was carrying in his hand a disc. Brahma was sitting on a swan and had in his hand kushagrass, and Lord Shiva was sitting on a bull and carrying in his hand a small drum called damru. Atri Rishi recognized them by their symbolic representations and different carriers, and thus he offered them prayers and respect. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमो श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखा वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपति गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावने विश्वमानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाष्ट आदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमो। So thank you so much for joining this wonderful sangha every day morning. So today, Atri Muni is bowing down to the three primeval and the two expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are also referred as avatars in our incarnations of the Lord, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. And how he is doing it is explained beautifully in these two verses. So, when Atri Muni was doing penance, he was doing penance in a very deep meditative way, and from him, you know, fire erupted from his mouth as he was taking and breathing in and breathing out. Fire erupted when he was breathing out. And in order to quench that fire in him and his sincere desire in him, Lord appeared, and how he respected him when the three personalities, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, the Trinity in the Sanatan philosophy, Sanatan Dharma philosophy is explained. How he paid obeisances, how he did, Dandabat Pranam with due respect is explained here. So, in order to understand that, let's discuss a little bit about the background as to how this all happened. Because Atri Muni is is the Manasaputra of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma gave birth through his mind Angira, Atri, Kratu, Marichi, Pulaha, Pulastya, and Vasistha. So these are the seven Saptarshis of Brahma in that. And also, Brahmaji uh, created for the progeny manifestation, Manu. And Manu and Satarupa gave birth to five kids, two sons and three daughters. They are the two sons are Uttanapad and Priyavrat. Uttanapad is the father of the great Dhruva Maharaj. You might have all heard. And the three daughters of Manu and Satrupa are Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. And from Devahuti, nine daughters were born. And they were all married to very prominent rishis. And Devahuti married Kardama Muni. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Devahuti and Kardama Munis and their descendant, their son Kapiladev's discussion, we all relished in the third canto. In this verse, the progeny from the daughters, especially Anusuya, who is one of the nine prominent daughters of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, Anusuya, who is married to Atri Muni, who is the Manasaputra of Brahmaji, is discussed beautifully. So when Anusuya and Atri wanted to have a progeny, they wanted to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their progeny. But here it is mentioned that they wanted the Lord of the universe as the progeny. But Atri Muni is a very bright personality, but still the bright personality have no idea what a Supreme Personality of Godhead is. And that is why he was standing in one leg and doing penance. And through the process of penance, he was very strong in his meditation. Fire came out of his mouth when he was breathing out. And eventually, to clear the doubts of Atri for his penance, the three personalities appeared. Who are the three personalities? Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. When Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar appeared, Atri Muni, he was a very pure devotee. But as Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna can be understood by the sweet will of Krishna because because Krishna has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Jnanamanma Pravatati. That means a person who is born after several births and deaths through his inquiry, through his association, through his understanding, through his surrender, he gets an opportunity to get the sweet free will of the Lord. Lord can be only understood by the sweet will of the Lord, and and that needs a lot of things. That needs surrender. That needs so many things. And Atri Muni was a very bright, saintly person, but still he had no clue what how the Supreme Personality looks like. He was seeking his son to be the Lord of the universe. So when the three appeared, and also Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that neither the demigods nor great sages can know him. And Atri Muni was a great sage. So it is apparent that thinking that by knowledge, thinking that by deep meditation, you can know the Supreme Personality of Godhead is futile. Krishna mentions, Nave Vidusuragane Prabhavamma Maharshaya in Bhagavad Gita 10.2, that neither hosts of demigods nor great sages know the origin of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and also Krishna mentions, Ye yathamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. The degree to which we surrender, the degree to which we aspire, clearing all the doubts in our mind, Lord shows us the path to know Him. We all are seekers in every different stages of our sadhana, and and Lord can be only understood by the sweet will of the Lord. And Lord has mentioned so many beautiful things about how He recognizes surrender devotee. He need not make him understand through the sages, through the devas, but through a bhakta, only a devotee can recognize him, can understand him. So when the three personalities appear, and it is mentioned how they appeared, Vishnu appeared in his Vahana, Garuda, and and Brahmaji appeared on the swan, and Shiva, Lord Shiva, appeared on the bull, Vrisha, bull. Hamsa, Brahmaji appeared on the swan, and Anjali, with folded hands, Atri Muni paid obeisances to, and it is also mentioned that Lord Vishnu was holding his drum or Sudarshan Chakra, which you see on the altar beside Lord Jagannath in our temple. And Shivaji was holding his damru or the discus, and Brahmaji was holding the kusha grass which he uses for yajnas. And they came in their respective vahanas. They are holding the respective items which identifies them. And even with that identification, Atri Muni couldn't understand who the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Atri Muni, a personality of such high stature, cannot understand who the Lord of the universe is, it is very difficult for souls like us to even think of comprehending the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why Krishna means a devotee can truly understand him. Anyway, so staying on this topic, he was standing in one leg, Atri Muni, and then when the three appeared, when Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar appeared, he paid obeisances like a dandavat. Srila Prabhupada mentions that, there is a very curious devotee, and he asked Srila Prabhupada, when Krishna appears in front of me, what should I first do? And Prabhupada says, first thing you should do is do dandavat, exactly like how this verse is explaining about dandavat in in uh, in 24, there is this word about Dandavat. Danda means, Srila Prabhupada explains it, Danda means it's a rod, Vat means is like a rod, Bhumo means in the bhumi, in the ground, you fall flat like a rod. That is what Dandavat is. So Atri Muni fell on the lotus feet of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar like a rod. And still, and he was very happy, he was very, but he was seeking a progeny who is like Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he kind of, you know, you'll hear it in the future verses, but uh, in curiosity, he asked who, he was seeking in his mind who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and from seeing the desire, Lord, all the three of them gave them some portion of their skills and power into Atri Muni and Mother Anusuya, and through that answer from the portion and answer of Vishnuji, Dattatreya was born. Dattatreya is a Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And and from Lord Shiva, from Anusuya and Atri, sage Durvasa, which you know, was born. And from Brahmaji, Soma was born. So as you can see, through the portion of the expansions of the three personalities of Godhead, the three incarnations, three personalities were born: Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Soma from Atri and Anusuya. And they went on to do various different things. So the point here is even Atri Muni, for that matter, didn't know who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. He had tremendous amount of knowledge, but he had never seen. So it is very apparent, and it is not very difficult for us to understand that Lord can reveal himself in many different ways. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Jagannath Puri daily on his darshan, Lord Jagannath, who is Krishna himself, was giving darshan to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath used to have that interaction. Some of the great devotees of the Lord who were there at the time have seen both of their interactions when in Jagannath Puri. Lord can reveal himself however he want. Sometimes he can come as a tortoise, sometimes he come as half lion, half man, but he can choose to reveal himself, and it is, and instead of trying to beget something, trying to get something, if we have that selfless motive of serving the Lord, Lord will reveal in various different ways in our soul and mind. So it is for the devotees to capture that glimpse, to capture that. So Lord, it's not about getting something from the Lord, but getting that mercy of the Lord. Lord is very merciful, as you may have heard. Lord Jagannath is very, very merciful. So he is very magnificent, he is very merciful, and he is very munificent. But it is our ability to receive that frequency, and that frequency, when the frequencies are received, it's called resonance, right? So, and that's when the call takes place, when the frequencies are aligned and are not jammed up through some form of, uh, you know, in electronic sense. So, Lord is present, but Lord can choose to reveal himself. And Atri Muni here is standing on his one leg and offering meditation and tapasya. And that's when both, all the three personalities appear. And when the three personalities appear, Lord is giving darshan, and the kind of welcome Atri Muni is giving to all three of them is exemplary, because The first thing we should do when we see a very exalted personality or any senior Vaishnava in that matter is to do Dandavat. And that Dandavat is highlighted in these two verses we are doing today. And that Dandavat, Danda means like a stick and on flat on the ground means we are showing respect and and devotees when they show respect to senior devotees in that sense, even if age is also an attribute of seniority, then there is that element of love, that element of humility, which is born, which is indirectly, and Krishna has mentioned many times that how he likes humble devotees, where humility is the core, and Dandavat starts with that element of humility. So whether we have a chance to fall down on the lotus feet of our Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the desire should be to do Dandavat, exactly like how Atri Muni is receiving Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar with their vahanas, is to fall on the lotus feet. And then you'll hear in the subsequent verses how from each of these three personalities, a portion or answer comes into Anusaya and Atri, and Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Soma were born from Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, respectively, which is so beautifully explained in the future verses. So, Manu, Satarupa, from them the five kids, Priyavrat Uttanapat, and Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti, and from Devahuti, Kardama Muni, nine daughters, Anusya, a prominent daughter, married to Atri Muni, and from there, Dattatreya, Durvasa, and Soma. So, how Brahmaji's lineage, Brahmaji is directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna to create and create progenies, and how from Manu Satrupa to this side, the Saptarshis Atri, how these progenies are expanding, and how we all have a Gotra in our Sanatan philosophy, and all that Gotra has to refer to one Rishi. All of us have a Gotra, and all of the Gotras refer to one of the Rishis from whom. So we have a very pure forefather lineage, and we have a right to keep it pure instead of getting it contaminated through irregulative principles. So all of us have a lineage born from very prominent, because the first person who started the progeny is Manu, Swayambhu Manu in this example, and how this chapter explains the creation of this universe in terms of how the progenitors were linked to each other. And so beautifully, this is explained. So, how we should look at receiving a supreme individual or a supreme personality of Godhead. So, whenever we go into the temple, is very beautifully explained. If we have to take away one thing in the beginning of this week, today is Monday, and implement in our life, is to have to offer respect as Atri Muni is extending his Dandavat to the three personalities of Godhead, is offering pranam, obeisances like a rod, and he fell down, as in 24 it is mentioned, to whom? The three personalities who are, and how he is doing this? As Anjali, in folded hands, into Vrisha, bull, person who is seated on the bull, Hamsa, swan, Varmaji, Suparna, the Garuda bird, and then, and they all have their respective symbols to recognize, and in that meeting of Atri Muni to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you might have seen the picture where Atri Muni is paying obeisances to the three personalities, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, with so much of awe and reverence, and how we should learn, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, from this experience, and how we should lead our spiritual life by offering obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead immediately when you go in, paying obeisances to our Acharya, our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, and then gradually offering obeisances at all the altars of the Lord, and also any senior sannyasi or whoever uh, in the senior lineage comes to do Dandavat, exactly like how Atrimuni is saying in the 24th verse, saying, Pranamya Dandavat Bhumau. That means he's paying obeisances as a stick, as a rod on the bhumau, uh, on the soil, or on the ground, and that's how devotees have to be received by other devotees. And that's the reason why you might have seen how Srila Prabhupada has cultivated that spirit of humility in all his devotees, and all his devotees when he goes, and how that understanding has also percolated in the subsequent generations of devotees, which is an essential feature of our mutual respect and humility. So, beautiful words to ponder, highlighting the lineage, highlighting who the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how we should be clear. Atrimuni was very clear, but he still has some aspect of doubt because he has never seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some of our acharyas have mentioned that even Atrimuni was not 100% sure who the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he beget kids from all the three, but he had desire to beget kid from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if we are going astray, it's okay. And that's the reason why we have acharyas, to clear our doubts, and no one is perfect except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we have the right attitude, right understanding from the scriptures, as today in the beginning of this week we are having a wonderful discussion on how to show mutual respect, and how the relationship between Atrimuni and the Supreme Personality of Godhead paved the way for the birth of Dattatreya, uh, Durvasa, and Som, which will be covered in deep details in the subsequent chapters. So, with that, I'd like to end here. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Ramajaganto. We'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and week ahead. And we'd like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Singha, Jai Singha, Jai Jai Singha, Prahlade, Jaya Padma, Mukha Padma,
Ugraveeram Mahavishnu Jalantam Sarvasau
Vishnam Bhadram,
Narsingham Vishnam Bhadram Murti Namami.
Nrsimha Bhagwan ki Jai,
Jai.
Guru Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Let's offer our humble obeisances to all the Tamil Vaishnavas. Vancha
Kalpataruvasya Upasana Bhave Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Vaishnavina ki Jai.
Jai.
Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari 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 Bol. Thank you everybody. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.